a fellow with a heart of gold and the ways of a gentleman. I've been told the kind of a guy that wouldn't even harm a flea. But if me and a certain character met that guy that invented the cigarette, I'd murder that son of a gun in the first degree. Now, not 'cause I don't smoke myself, and I don't reckon they'll harm your health. I've smoked all my life and ain't dead yet. But nicotine slaves are all the same. At a petting party or a poker game, everything must stop while they smoke that cigarette. Smoke, smoke, smoke that cigarette. Puff, 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 and if you smoke yourself to death, tell St. Peter at the Golden Gate that you hate to make him wait, but you've just got to have another cigarette. Smoke, smoke, smoke. Puff, puff, puff. In a game of chance the other night, old Dame Fortune was doing me right. The kings and queens just kept on coming round.
Coming around.
I played him hard and I played him high, but my bluff didn't work on a certain guy. He kept on raising and laying that money down.
Laying it down.
He'd raise
Halfway between Chambliss and 177 lies the facility called Milliken. Now, Milliken has processing equipment out on that far dry lake. They flood the lake with water and bring salts to the surface. And when they evaporate, it's collected and taken to the facility that's up ahead. Now, up ahead on the left is Milliken. In the 1930s, there was a small town here that was used to process materials from the Lucky Jim mine, which is about 15 miles to the east of this area. And once the ore played out, Milliken was abandoned. But at some point, this area was taken over by the Salt Products Company about 50 years ago, and they have been generating different kinds of chemical salts for commercial use for quite a while. It may not look like much, but people actually live down there year-round, and they have a web page. Next stop, the 177. So all this area to the east and west of Cadiz Road used to be the Desert Training Center. During the Second World War, General Patton trained huge numbers of troops with aircraft, artillery, armored vehicles of every kind and description for the impending invasion of North Africa called Operation Torch. This area covered a huge sections of California, Nevada, and Arizona. We're now traveling along the right-of-way of the California and Arizona Railroad, which originally belonged to the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. The railroad was installed in 1910, running from Cadiz down to Parker, and was purchased by the California and Arizona Railway around 2001. The railroad has been recently purchased by the Genesee and Wyoming. This route was, though, originally the old Butterfield stage line that had been around since the 1870s. Okay, patrol members, we're at the famous Crossroads totem pole, for lack of a better phrase, where people come and stick stickers and signs from all over the world. This has been here longer than I can remember. On to the next stop. We are now traveling down the 177, where it will connect to the 62, which will take us to Desert Center. We're going to stop at a couple of places along the 177, and I'm going to show you a few historical items. This is a relatively nice road. It's been recently improved. And you have beautiful vistas of the old Desert Training Center. So, on to the next stop. This is the monument for Camp Granite. I apologize because it is very difficult to see because of the shiny nature of the marble slab there. But Camp Granite was a divisional camp for this area established in 1942. The life out here was incredibly harsh for soldiers. The nights were freezing and the days were baking. And as you can see, there were few amenities to support the poor trainees who were going to even harsher climates in North Africa. This is the marker monument for Camp Iron Mountain, which was the divisional training camp for the Desert Training Center. Patton used this area for a lot of individual training and classes. There's a lot of physical features that remain today, like the rock outlines from some of the camp areas, and the famous Patton Chapel, which stands alone out in the middle of the desert. Here it is in its restored version. Straight out there in the desert, for anyone who wants to go visit, is Camp Iron Mountain. There's an entrance just down the road. It's not hard to find off the 177. And remember, metal detecting is not permitted in this area. If you visit Camp Iron Mountain, you must remember that this site is protected. There is no metal detecting or digging permitted. Don't do it. On to the next stop. We followed the 177 where it turns south to the 62. Now we are traveling south on the 62, heading towards Desert Center, the home of the mysterious George Adamski. We'll cover that a little later. We're coming up on another monument momentarily. This is the marker and monument for Camp Coxcomb. Camp Coxcomb was another divisional camp set along Highway 177 today. It once covered several thousand acres and was established in the spring of 1942. Soldiers trained here until 1944 when it was closed as the war was winding down in Europe. This is also a bleak and desolate place to train. Hot weather, cold weather, snakes, stinging insects, everything to make a soldier's training absolutely perfect as far as General Pat was concerned. Walking directly across the street from the Camp Coxcomb Monument, we see a monument dedicated to the Palin Pass maneuvering area. On the other side of this monument, vast numbers of men spent many hundreds of hours training to meet the Germans in North Africa under harsh, once again, blistering and difficult conditions. Let us never forget the sacrifices these men made to make our world better. And once again, this is open to the public. This is an improved road, and there ahead of you is the Palin Pass maneuvering area from the Desert Training Center. Here I am driving down Old Highway 60, heading towards Shirako Summit. The road no longer goes all the way through and terminates at the end of this road at an abandoned gas station. So, in 1930, an improved dirt road was put in that ran past Desert Center, and eventually, paved Highway 60 stretched all the way from Los Angeles to Phoenix, Arizona. And at some point, this highway was bypassed for the 10 freeway. And here we are at the abandoned gas station. I was unable to find any modern photographs of it without graffiti on it. And I was unable to find any photographs in the past showing it intact and in service. No one even knows the name of the gas station, whether it was Sunoco or who knows. But over the years, graffiti artists and vandals have taken their toll. Let us venture inside. And this originally was the main office where you paid for your gas. And here is the garage where you pulled your tired old car in to have the radiator checked, or maybe so the brakes worked on, or a water pump replaced. Sadly, now that all remains of this desert oasis is a derelict building. Here we are entering the ghost town of Desert Center. That's not to say that people don't live here, they do, but as a town, it doesn't really exist anymore. On our left, we're going to come across the Desert Center Market, which is falling in on itself. Here's what it looked like about 10 years ago, before the ravages of time took it over. This is the inside of the market as it looked 10 years ago. Notice the turntable by the cash register on the right. And the sad remains today. Here are the storefronts of Desert Center. The only viable building left is the still open post office. All the other buildings are completely derelict and vacant. Moving across to the other side of the street, here we're coming up on the remains of the Desert Center Cafe and Standard Oil gas station. Vandals have taken their tolls, and next is a little picture of that same area in its heyday in the 1950s. Here's a photograph from a similar angle of the same location in the 1960s. And here's the same location. This photograph was taken about 8 or 9 years ago. And here it is today, pretty much derelict and downtrodden. Desert Center had a flirtation with international fame in the 1950s and 60s because it was the home of George Adamski, who was contacted by an advanced race of aliens called the Corendians, just to the north of Desert Center, while he was sitting in the desert, relaxing and enjoying the stars. Once again, here's the Desert Center Market. Here we're approaching the old Texaco station that lies right on the side of the 177. Here's what it looked like shortly after the Texaco station closed. And unfortunately, it has become once again a target for graffiti artists. Directly across the street is the old hamburger stand that I purchased hamburgers at about 30 years ago. Here's a better view of it about 10 or 15 years after it closed. Now we're going to hop up on the 10 freeway. Spending the night in the desert one evening, he was sitting in a chair, smoking his pipe, trying to think of his next move in life, when he claims that a UFO landed next to him and aliens came out and told him the secrets of the universe. There's more of the palm trees. Those are cut down. But some still stand. And as we ride into the sunset, thus ends this week's adventure of the Mojave Patrol. Tune in next week when we go through Chirocco Summit and we stop and visit the world-famous General Patton Museum off Interstate 10 in California. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Later, Mater.
Thank you, Patty. What a thrill to take the wheel
Of a rocket Oldsmobile.
You know, there's a new word to describe that Oldsmobile thrill.
It's spelled O
L
D
S
M O B I L I T Y. OLDS, Oldsmobility, glamorous new. Oldsmobility, powerful, yes. Oldsmobility in Olds 458. Just wait till you see Oldsmobility in action.
Like in the beautiful new Dynamic 88.
There's a new rocket engine under the hood, new power, and greater fuel economy.
Economy that matches the down-to-earth price of an 88. The lowest priced rocket engine car.
There's nothing like the 58 Oldsmobile.
Yes, there's no mobility like
OLDS, Oldsmobility in Olds 458.